Hi, this is the beginning video of the series in my philosophy of religion and faith playlist on the teleological argument, or also said as the argument from design. There's a lot of stuff in this. There's a lot of things that I'm going to go over in this discussion of the teleological argument. And first of all, I've discussed stuff about the ontological argument, as well as quite a bit about the cosmological argument. And I mean, basically what I inferred, I didn't really infer anything. I guess I did the ontological stuff quite a while ago, and I didn't really, because that's an argument based upon proof of the existence of God, which is a priori, which I don't really find any use in that. I mean, I have videos on that, so just go into that playlist and find that it's there. There's two videos there. There's a discussion of Anselm, as well as a discussion of Kant's critique of that. Yeah, and then the cosmological argument there's a lot of problems to that, just because of most because of the argument of William Lane Craig and J.P. Moreland, given Paul Draper's considerations. But this is the beginning of the discussion of the teleological argument, and I'm going to discuss here, first of all, the watch and the watchmaker, which is it's an analysis which is given by William Paley, which is to show that if there because of these certain designs that a design implies some sort of artificer or one who exists or existed who created this. And after Paley, I'm going to discuss David Hume, apart from his dialogues concerning natural religion, as well as Richard Swinburne, Robin Collins, and possibly others. I'm going to maybe look at some refutations of this by some certain atheists that are common today. And then after this stuff on the teleological argument, I'll go on to arguments from religious experience. And like I said, we're in this anthology here. So I would say this is quite a complete anthology on philosophy of religion. It has pretty much a representation of everything that is there here within the area of philosophy of religion. And I'm not saying everything, but there's so much stuff. But this gives an accurate little snippet of what the philosophy of religion disciplines are. Anyway, I'm going to go to the Paley. And then at the beginning it says, the teleological argument for the existence of God begins with the premise that the world exhibits intelligent purpose, order, or other marks of design, and it proceeds to the conclusion that there must be, or probably is, a divine intelligence, a supreme designer, to account for the observed or preserved intelligent purpose or order. Okay. Watching the Watchmaker. I'm just going to read part of this just to show the certain thing here. In crossing a heath, I suppose I pitch my foot against a stone. In mind, this is his book, which was published in 1802. In crossing a heath, suppose I pitch my foot against a stone, or asked how the stone came to be there. Well, I might possibly answer that for anything I knew to the contrary, it had lain there forever, nor would it perhaps be very easy to show the absurdity of this answer. But suppose I found a watch upon the ground. Okay, so think about the stone. If you go walking in the woods or something like that, and you trip on a stone, you're gonna. It's just like it's a, it's like a natural matter, just like trees, branches, whatever you'll find in the woods, and you won't really question how it came to be there, because it's always been there. It's the earth. But suppose I found a watch upon the ground, and it should be inquired how the watch happened to be in that place. I should hardly think of the answer which I had given, that for anything I knew the watch might have always been there. Yet why should not this answer serve for the watch as well as for the stone? Why is it not as admissible in the second case as well as the first? For this reason, and for no other, that when we come to inspect the watch, we perceive what we could not discover in the stone, that its several parts are framed and put together for a purpose, e.g., that they are so formed and adjusted as to produce motion, and that motion so regulated as to point out the hour of the day, that if the different parts had been differently shaped from what they are, if a different size from what they are placed after any other manner, or in any other order than that which they are placed, either no motion at all would have been carried on the machine, or none which would have answered the use that is now served by it. So here he discusses this watch. So think about a watch. Like, how exactly would you think that a watch comes to show you the hour and the second and the minute? There has to be certain forms of energy there for one thing, and that has to be given by some sort of mechanism which makes the gears turn and makes the thing actually work and makes the hands turn. So the argument given by Paley is quite simple. Actually, it's quite simple. The inference is that given this order, this is because of all the gears and all the springs and all the screws and everything that makes up that watch, because a watch doesn't just move by itself. There's stuff there that works. It has to be like Paley says, it has to be in a certain way, in a certain form of order, in a certain way of organization or complexity, I guess. Order and complexity are seen in such a watch as to make it function correctly. And he says there that given the everything that's in there was just in a different spot, or coordinated differently, or perhaps reconnoitered or something like that, it would not exactly work. It is configured that way. It's configured in such of that manner, so that the gears will move, and the energy will be used to make the gears move, and will cause the hands to move, as to be made to coordinate with the minute, second, hour time. So the main point here is that the stone that he so happened to trip on is a piece of rock. Now, it can be also argued that the stone itself is also very complex. The atoms and the molecules, or everything that makes it up, whatever makes up the mineral, that is a very complex thing. And it's argued that because of the watch, this is a base thing here. This is one of the big things here. Because of the watch and everything that makes it up, and he's saying that because of the order and the complexity in that watch that makes it work, that there is an inference that this complexity and order infers that there was some sort of artificer or maker, a watchmaker, which created it. Because what's being argued here is that it's not logical to infer that something like this could just, come out randomly without having been designed by some designer. And what is argued from this standpoint, given the watch and the watchmaker, is that the complexity seen in nature and the world is also going to infer a designer of this. Thus, intelligent design is what's discussed here. But there's a lot more complex things to this. I mean, there's, it kind of goes further than what Paley does here. What Paley does here is simpler than what comes past him in the teleological argument. But think of this argument in its main form, or in the form that Paley presents it. Many atheists and evolutionists are going to argue that just because there's order in something, that it infers an intelligent designer. Richard Dawkins has said that, and I believe Christopher Hitchens has as well as Darwin. I mean, even later in his life, how he's like, I never should have written all that evolution stuff. When he wrote that stuff, he was giving order and showing how that order came without some sort of designer. And that's why we have evolution and evolutionists in science now. So it can be seen in this simple form of the watch and the watchmaker. It can be shown that it's not exactly true that just because there's order and complexity that there's an intelligent designer.